Now on our reference model, you can see we had a couple of transverse sections in there using additional nodes. We've got some pieces in there. Now there's an additional module in here. We'll go ahead and add this end plate at either end. So we'll go to beam 0 and turn off transparency. And we could go ahead and build the 4 elements in here, but in order to do that, we'll need an additional node in the center there. So we can create a new one. I'll go to type in the X, Y, and Z values. Now I can type them in, or I can click on an existing one to find it. And then I could simply modify the Y value to be half of that, 2.5, and then create my node. And you can see where the node was created. It's highlighted in black. If I hit cancel or click this button, you can see there's my new additional node, and it belongs to beam 0. Now I could create my 4 quads in here right now if I wanted to, or we can take advantage of some of those refinement tools again and create a single quad. So I'll come in here into the quad dialog, and again, you hit the ID button to create a new one. By default, when you hit ID, it immediately moves the cursor to node 1, and I can go ahead and start clicking on nodes, and I'm going to make one large quad at the end here, and you can see it's from endpoint 4, 3, 2, and 1. It picked the 10th node on each one of them. By default, it's using the first property, so it's the 5mm plate. It does have by default the first stiffener layout, but we want null on that one. So we should probably reorder those stiffener layouts so that our default is none rather than the stiffener layout there. And we can go ahead and create that quad. Now we don't have point-to-point connectivity here, so that's going to generate some free edge errors if we were to leave it like this. But we can use one of the refinement tools here to split a quad into 4 quads. And now we're all set. So I didn't actually have to create that node. If I had created this large quad, when I split it, it created the node for me. And we'll do the exact same thing on beam 1. Create one large. When I hit ID, it went to 6, thinking there was already 2, 3, 4, 5, because the current part is still beam 0, even though I'm only displaying beam 1. Had I tried to start selecting nodes, it's not letting me select anything because this isn't the current part. You can only select from the current part. So we'll change that. Now if I hit ID, it's the first quad element in this module, and I'll go ahead and select the 4 corners. Our layout is null, create it, and split it. And we now have that one. If we view the full beam again, you can see now we have an overlap here where we have frame and that set of quads. And that'll generate an error in Maestro when we go to do the quality check. So what we'll do is we can't turn off those frames from the strake, because if we go into the beam 1 strakes here and click on them, we can see that actually we can, yeah. So that lets us turn off that one frame. We could also do it for the entire module if we want. We could do it on a frame by frame or a strake by strake basis, or we could come in and modify the entire module definition and tell it not to use a frame at the reference end, which is a little easier. Takes care of all of them in one command. So the next thing was to add an insert. So we're going to put a small section in the middle, because when we built this, we didn't build the beam long enough, or perhaps we just want some special feature in there. So we can simply come in here, select our beam 1 module, and we're going to put in say a 1 meter insert. So we'll relocate our beam 1 to be an extra meter away. When we introduce a gap, we can set the view part from in here as well. And again, we can copy the existing module, although this one is going to be far too large. We'll call this one insert. But we can simply modify it so that it is at our 2.5 meter location. Obviously too long, so we simply change the length. We only want it to be 1 meter long, so we get rid of all but 4 of the sections. We have those additional elements at the end that are attached to node 10, so it's causing a problem. It's not letting us delete that. So what we'll need to do is first delete these. And actually, before I do that, let me show you in the deletions dialog here. I'll refresh the graphics to bring those back. But we have the deletions dialog that allows us to remove things from the model. And you can remove entire strakes. You can use these checkboxes to limit what you're able to select from within the model. Full strakes will select, if I click on one of these, it's going to grab the entire strake. If I uncheck the full strake and click on it, that's a strake quad. And if I have both of these unchecked, you can see it won't let me actually add anything there, even though I'm clicking. If I click strake, it'll let me select individual strake quads, and if it was a full strake, it would grab the entire thing. Now I'll go ahead and put these back. You can selectively return things to the model to avoid deleting them. But once you've selected something for deletion, you have the option of either deleting it or you can create a new module from it. And you can use this to fairly easily move things around between modules to reorganize your model. So I could create a new module from these 4 and add it to a different module if I wanted to transfer this from, say, the insert to beam 0. But for now, we'll just delete these. And now we should be able to modify our insert sections, and you can see now it's let me remove them since nothing was dependent on them. We're going to need to get rid of these frames at the reference end because there is a set of quads there already. So we'll modify that, and we'll need to add those quad elements back here. So we'll create a new quad null layout. Go ahead and create it, and we can use this split feature to tie everything in. And now come up to the top, we basically have our beam built.